This is the third day of fundraising in an economic downturn. If you remember the last two parts, we're really trying to set you guys up to understand what's happening in the market around fundraising and the steps that you need to take to kind of lay a better groundwork so that you can be successful moving forward in fundraising. Now, I mentioned this in the email that went out last night. If you guys didn't know, I do spend 95% of my time creating free experiences like this, workshops, tools, weekly content, all really designed to make fundraising easier and more accessible for as many founders as possible. But there are things that 5% of you have asked for me over the last couple of years. And so we've created a program around that. And if that's not for you, that's totally cool. You can completely just bounce after the first part where we go through exercises. But I do hope that you will be interested in hearing what the program's about based on what you've seen in these first 2 days and the other content that I share. Okay, so let's get into the favorite part from the last workshop, which is the rubber band exercise, the 6-slide deck. We had a ton of people submit decks, which is amazing. I think we're only going to be able to talk about 3 of them today, but the exercise of going through that is going to be really helpful. And just hearing how I engage with some of these will be instructive for how you think about evaluating your own 6-slide deck and building from there, but also how you'll help other founders work through this, because it's all about trying to create a community where you guys can engage with each other and give you guys the feedback that is necessary to get better at this. Okay. So Mauricio Matos, are you there? Yeah. Mauricio, do you want to come off mute if you can, or raise your hand?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, how's it going, man? Where in the world are you?
I'm in São Paulo, Brazil.
Okay. So we're going to talk very briefly about this. This was the 6-slide deck that you sent to me. And now this is a very verbose 6-slide deck. Some of you were even more over the top, sending me slides that you've already created and put them together in 6 slides. And those slides were just as verbose as these. So Mauricio, what I wanted to share with you and the kind of notes that I wanted to talk you through is when you're working through this exercise, you should really be trying to be as simple as possible. There's something that I always tell founders is the more I see and the more you say, the less convincing you are to me and to other investors. So where you want to get to this and the exercise and maybe taking another pass at this and the other founders who just submitted slides and they're really dense slides is to start simple and see how little you need in order to make an impactful point. So that's the first thing I would tell you, Mauricio, and for everyone else. This is like part of the exercise that you need to get better at. The second thing is, and this is a good illustration of how this exercise will help you develop your narrative, is I spent a little bit more time with yours, Mauricio, and I tried to do what I would hope you would do next, which is eliminate all the qualifiers, the adjectives, the stuff, the cruff that you put around it. And what I saw and the problem was we are living a global health crisis. And your solution is building distribution for Brazilian superfoods. And that's how I would simplify your problem and solution. And we'll talk about this in the next examples I get to. But when you cut down your problem and solution to something really raw and clear, it will become clear. It will become very understandable what your bar is and what you're going to have to achieve in order to make that click in someone's mind. So global health crisis and Brazilian superfoods. Like there is a light connection there for me, but it feels like a bit of a leap. And so as you think about that, just decide, does that mean your total big problem that you're going after is maybe not connected? Or are you going to have to bridge the gap between your solution, how you get to solve that problem? Okay. Does that make sense, Mauricio?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it makes total sense.
Awesome. Hopefully that was helpful. So this is the exercise that you'll be able to go through around 6-slide decks. There are 2 more. So this was my example. Again, Mauricio, saying thanks for volunteering. This was my example of what not to do, or now how do we evolve from this? We're going to try to get to something much simpler so that the 6-slide deck rubber band exercise actually stretches your mind so that you return to something a little bit more effective. Here are 2 that I can jump into a little bit more as the exercise was intended. Rude, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Hey, man.
Yeah,
Where in the world are you?
I'm in the south of the Netherlands, close to Maastricht.
Very cool. Thanks for submitting. This is about infused videos. So if you guys look at the top section, it's 6 bullet points, much much more simplified and bare bones. And this is where you want to be so you can actually get to the point of what do we think is difficult about this? So if you were to think about your own 6-slide deck, this is all going to make complete sense to you. It's going to click, each point click. But you're not the intended audience for this. And so you're going to need to give this to people, someone like me, someone like the other founders on this call, and figure out what was confusing to them or difficult for them to follow. What would they need to know? Here are things that I'll pick out. I see the flow here, but personalizing video ads yields 3x conversion and 10x ROI versus generic. So obviously this won't be your slide and you're going to have an ability to add more to this. But I'll tell you, when I read that one, I'm like, okay, is that good? Like 3x and 10x are always good, but it's like there's such esoteric statistics that I'm not sure, unless I'm a ad tech expert, I'm going to jump to how impactful that is right away. And so it's a really good opportunity for you to say, this still might be your 6-slide deck and it gives you the direction. But when there are sticking points, does that mean this is where you tell a story? This is where you use a case study to really simplify it so that people understand, oh, the Biden ad campaign, the Trump ad campaign, when they went from this to that 3x, oh, like that sticks in my mind. Pure 3x and 10x ROI, that doesn't stick in my mind. Okay. And so I'll say you covered all the big categories that I want to see in a 6-slide deck, but you wrote this to me in your email. You don't know where this is sticking. So my encouragement to you would be, take this is a good one, and actually give it to other people. Give it to other people and see where their feedback is, what they don't find exciting, and what you'll have to add to it to really make it shine. Does that make sense, Root?
It does. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Amazing. Last but not least, Miguel, are you here? Oh, bummer. Okay. So Miguel's was good too. I just wanted to say a couple words around this. This is an opportunity for me to tell you the 4 things that I'm looking for in a 6-slide deck. I didn't give it to you guys, and it looked like most of you actually hit on it, but I want to know what the problem, opportunity, need is. I need to see that. I want to know what your solution is going to be. You need to feel that it's going to be a big opportunity. And then lastly, why will you be the team to do this? So these are 4 points that need to be covered. It doesn't necessarily mean each one matches one of your slides. It just needs to come out in the 6-slide deck, obviously your bigger deck as well. And with Miguel's, he did something, he told his 6 slides in a very narrative driven fashion, which is great. AGI, I asked the question, what does AGI mean? So he confused me there, but computers that can think will be the most important invention of humanity since fire. Ooh, interesting. No one can build AGI today. Very aggressive statement, keeps you interested. Building AGI requires blah, blah, blah. Only we can build AGI. That's a good team one. We are the offbeat mathematicians and CS experts who found out how to do it. This is real. We have customers today running it. Traction. Big miss though.
What they're asking for?
No, that is not in there, but that's okay. Anyone else?
What problem are you solving?
Problems in there. He says that the most important invention, but no one can do it. He doesn't say what he does. It's all story. And I'm like, oh, but what do you do? I don't really know. And that's a common mistake. People will get drunk off of the storytelling and like bringing people through and miss out on a really important opportunity or a really important point. Okay. So that is the 6-slide deck exercise. We wanted to quickly wrap that up so you guys understood how to engage in that on your own. Again, some of you might not have done it yet. I would highly encourage you to do it, and don't mail it in by looking at your existing deck and then grabbing 6 slides and putting them together. Peel it down to its base and really do this with note cards. Come up with a note card. Be like, what would my first topic be? What would my second topic be? Don't be distracted by design. And then the big thing to do is to send it to people. Like, ask them what they thought, ask them where they would be confused, what would not be exciting to them. And honestly, if you're active in the chat here, and if we do a good job of stimulating this, maybe you can find some people to exchange notes with around this on this call. Okay. So that was the rubber band exercise. Let's recap what we did, because this is important as we think about the 3rd day topic. Day 1, really, the message was, if you keep doing what you saw being done in 2020 to 2022, you're going to be in for a rough time, because those crazy good times no longer exist. Elizabeth Yin from Hustle Fund's message was, There's just a higher bar right now, and you're going to have to do what it takes to meet that. So big question mark at the end of day one was, how do we meet that? And the Venn diagram, the three impactful points that we talked to Jesse about were this idea of, can you build awareness? Can you create a great narrative and then generate momentum? Those were the three categories that we wanted y'all to focus on. And that was all well and good. But when we talked about where that left us, we did say, look, a lot of great fundraisers happen over a very long period of time, usually inadvertently. It's like my story of just like building. I wasn't fundraising for a specific process or a specific company. But when I finally did, all that work really built up my opportunity. But we have less time. And so the challenge is like, how do you actually get that done? If you have less time and you can't just say for a couple of years, build your network, like that's obvious, but we're in a different period of time. There's just bad timing involved where some of you are in more of a do or die situation, or some of you look at Q1 of next year as coming on very fast, which it is. And so how do we get this done? How do we shorten that timeline? So the big thing here we're going to talk about is how we get that done. And there are a lot of things execution-wise that will help you with this. But there are two main things, and they might sound simple, but it's important that we talk through this. Script here. It's planning and execution. This may sound overly simple, but the way I've seen founders do this in the past is that they equate fundraising with, I'm just going to start asking people for money. And if asking people for money is as simple as being like, Shira invests on the side, I think I can ask her, I can email her. Then when you start that process, it's going to be very loosey-goosey. Whereas if you think about, okay, what are all the things that I need to get done? How much time do I have? And how do I place that on a timeline so I can actually do it? Like that stuff are things that I think founders don't know all the steps that they should be doing or the things that they could be doing before they actually make the requests and start pitching people. And I also think it's a bit of fear. If I name all the things that I have to do, it's going to feel overwhelming and maybe I won't get it done. I think the better way to think about that is name all the things that you need to do so you can do your best at knocking off as many of them as possible, because it's not an all or nothing game. It is, let us do whatever we can and let's push as hard as we can up into the point when we're fundraising. The second part is execution, right? We plan it all out and then we do it. The biggest thing I can tell you is all the way from preparation up to like launch of the fundraise and asking for intros and actually getting that done. It's a lot of project management. It's a lot of herding cats. There are a lot of moving parts that you're going to have to keep on top of and make sure that you push. But the biggest thing, biggest unlock for founders is me giving this speech, honestly, because it's once they understand that's what needs to be done, they can go do it. They can go actually lean into the process. And if you do that, you'll be able to, the holy grail that like will carry you along the way is to actually get to calendar density. This is a topic that I've become known for. It's what I structure a lot of my strategy around. It's this idea of getting to a tight process. Calendar density is all driven by planning and execution. This is something that you can fully control. Like this is something that the input is hard work and the output is a much cleaner, more effective fundraise. Obviously, glazing over a bunch of these things, I said you need a plan, you need to figure out the things you need to do. I didn't say what those things were. We don't have tons of time, but I will say, again, we're trying to give you guys the tools that you need to do this. So we have an initial planning list that we'll send to you afterwards. Within awareness, what are the things that we can do? How much of this can I do in the time that I have? Narrative. How do I actually get to a point where the narrative feels better? And then momentum, the planning and the organization. What are the stuff that we'll do beforehand in order to get this done? So that's actually the main teaching parts of today's session. I hope you got a ton out of the 3 days. We really wanted to drive transformation over a short period of time. It's not a lot of time together. But if it's okay with everyone, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about the accelerator program and why we built it and how it can be effective. The main message, though, before we get into that, is that everyone here can take what they've learned and work hard to accomplish their goals. The stuff that we talked about in the last 3 days is very applicable to what you're doing. There's a lot of free content on my website, and there are a lot of great advisors like Elizabeth, like Mac, who talk about the strategies around fundraising that you can find online. And I'd highly recommend you guys do that, especially for people that already have good advisors and have access to information, like definitely you can do this on your own. And I'm excited to hear about what you all do. For some of you might be interested in something that helps you do it faster, more effectively, and with community around it, which is what we'll talk about. If there's anything that you've taken from the last 3 days, it's that I think the best fundraisers take a lot of preparation to do well. And the thing that we ran into is that preparation is great in saying that, but when you don't know all the things that go into preparation, that's when your mind can wander and lock up and not understand what you should even be doing. Where should you even be spending your time? And what I see a lot of founders do is just bury their head and try not to think about it. I'll just like wing it. And if you just wing it, that hurts my heart because there are things that you could be doing. For me, I think it's just finding someone that you trust, someone that you think knows what they're talking about, to show you the right way, give it to you organized and actionably, and then surround you with people that are doing the same thing. It's like running a marathon. If you've ever done that, I've only done a half, but a half marathon has the same feeling where it's like, I don't know how I could run 13 miles. Then when a lot of people are running around you, it's like you get to the end of it. I cannot believe I did that. And that's one of those situations that you're going to want to set up for yourself. So many people talk about storytelling as the one thing you can control. I'm here to tell you that the one true way to impact fundraising outcomes is with preparation and intense focus. I want to tell you a little bit about why I built this, just so you can get your own context for why this exists and why it might be valuable for you. You see me talk about this slide, and the main things were that I was a venture capitalist on one side of the table and raised money twice from top investors around the world. But when I tell this story, I was yada, yada, yada over the middle side of things of how did I even make that transition? And I think it's worth hearing because I think maybe you'll hear some of your own story in it. So the quick backstory is at the end of my last company, it was the end of 4 years of just startup grind. We were trying to find product market fit across 2 companies, 2 different fundraisers, multiple pivots, and we eventually got to a sale. But as we were coming down to it, was like super exhausted and talking to my co-founder, Tim here, we're just like, well, what's next? What are we going to do next? And I told him it was just like, having been a founder, and you guys probably feel this as well, I don't know how I could go back to working at a big company again. That'd be really hard for me to do. I just loved the experience of being a founder, but I also didn't know if I even had an expertise that I could build a real business around. And it was at that point that my co-founder, Tim, was like, what about fundraising? You're really good at that. And I was like, yeah, but tons of people have my skill set. I'm not special. And it's not that hard to do. Not many people have this problem. And Tim was like, a ton of people have this problem and it isn't easy and it's not easy to learn and it's not easy to teach. You should try this. That's where my journey began. I started not trying to create a business. I started trying to help founders. So I started taking calls for free. I started writing a weekly newsletter. I've done that for 15 months now and I've only missed, I think, 2 weeks. I built bunches of tools. I created a bunch of illustrations. I started giving speeches. I've been trusted by Silicon Valley Bank, Launch House, Latitude, USC grad school program. All these things were just trying to put myself out there and learn what it meant to help founders and do that in a better way, a way that like people could actually ingest, because it's so easy to teach concepts and not actually help them land with founders. But I did all this because it was a passion of mine and it's been incredibly fun. But one engagement actually drew me in. So a founder was like engineering focused founder running a logistics company, had great bones to it. And it's just, we don't know what to do. Can you do this with me? So I did one engagement where it was one-on-one, help set up the process, help do everything for them. And the outcome was incredible. It was, they thought they wanted to raise $1 million. They raised $2 million and we got it done. And that was the light bulb where I was like, nothing I did was specific to them. It was just creating a process and making sure that the founders went through every stage of it with me. I wasn't the face. I didn't talk to any investors. I just made sure that they ran the process, prepared intensely for it, and executed. And so that's where I realized that if I were to just do one-on-ones all the time, I wouldn't touch that many founders. I'm more interested in creating free content that touches thousands of founders and then work with groups of founders in a more engaged way so that I could make more impact here. And what I would say is that you all are different. I don't think you guys are logistics tech companies. If you are, please let me know. I love those type of companies, but you're the same to me because you're still a startup whose fundraise will still be impacted by preparation and process. And that is predictable. like I said before, that is predictable, effort in, results out. And that's exciting to me. That's how I got started. That's where I started creating group programs, and we've iterated 3 times and have been super excited about what we've been able to do, which is super fun. Before moving on and telling you more about this, some of you are with me just because you're nice and I want to hear more and are just, I think, supporting me, but they won't be for you. I'm going to filter this even more because I just want to make sure that none of us waste our time. Who's this program not for? Don't even think about this program if you're one of these 3 things. A shortcut seeker. Hopefully what I've told you is that there are no tricks to doing this. It's hard work. So if you're looking for a program, FWC is Fundraise with Confidence. If you're looking for something that removes work, that's not. This is like identifying the right work and doing it efficiently. Trying to buy intros. This is not a program where you're buying intros. In fact, we'll talk about the value of an intro and how you get an intro. And even if it were a pay for intro service, I would tell you that those intros are the worst intros you can probably get. So you're not going to buy intros. You might get intros though by networking, but you're not going to buy intros. And lastly, this one is painful, but a lot of people who have started fundraisers without preparing, without doing the right things, get themselves into a situation where they're in a bad situation and they're looking for a quick fix. They're looking for a Band-Aid. Unfortunately, that's not us. We're designed to make a future fundraise really great. And who is this for? This is where I get excited to just describe the founders that I've been fortunate to work with. Founders who are excited by what they're going after, what they're working on, founders that want to share that same energy and help other founders. It's a team-based sport, as I always say, in startups and fundraising. And so creating a team is part of this job and part of what we do. Founders that love challenges, founders that both aren't weighed down by ego and have built the skill of asking for help. That is a superpower. If you have that today, the fact that you're even in these workshops means that you're far along that journey, far further than I was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even. And lastly, just that founder that doesn't want their dreams crushed by a lack of effort. Those are the founders that this works really well for. And here are some of those quotes that we hear a lot of. I'm not sure how to connect with the right investors. I raised money before, but it was super painful and there has to be a better way. I want to do this better. I want to do this more efficiently. Confusion around why pitches aren't landing. Like the lack of understanding around investor psychology, and then also how pitches are created and how you change your tone. We love talking about that. And then overall, this idea of, I just want to do the best that I can. I love that idea. I love that concept when I hear it from founders. I know what I know, but I know what I also don't know, and looking for people that they can trust. Before we actually get into the details of the program, which I'm excited, here's a quick disclaimer. I don't guarantee people will raise. No one can do that. I can tell you what a perfect process looks like in perfect preparation, but I can't be you and I can't be your company. And if anyone tries to tell you that they can guarantee it, I would run. And I'm going to share some cool success stories, but realize that's not every story. There are references for what is possible. My 2 main things are, I have a responsibility of giving you the right information in ways that promote high execution. And that's something that we've developed over thousands of conversations with founders, 3 different cohorts. And your responsibility is to take what I teach and respond positively to exercises, the encouragement, the coaching, and execute. So that's the simple disclaimer. Before we jump into some additional details, I'll say I appreciate everyone nodding along. I can see some smiling faces. And so this is where we get into the meat of it. Here's the program. It's broken down into 5 modules. And this has actually been redesigned over the last 3 cohorts for a few different impacts. But we wanted people to learn something on day 1 in module 1 and start executing on it. We used to have it be like, let's see if we can logically put it together so that at the end of 5 weeks, they're like ready to go and start executing. People were a little too anxious and they wanted to get going. So we've executed this in a way where we can start building foundational things where people can start doing it and then have that lead into the next modules. So the 5 modules are first principles and foundation building. It's 1. Second is really investor psychology and communications. Then targeting investors with tools and technology, our favorite that we've just been touching on, narrative and deck. And then finally, launching and closing. So just a small smattering of the things that you'll learn and do, which are really impactful, is early on, we'll start working on building an awareness campaign. What does it mean to create surface area for people to discover you in the most positive way? We'll actually do it. Not just tell you, but we'll do it. We're going to try to conquer investor psychology. And once you have that understanding of who you're talking to, what does it mean to write emails that will then influence investors the right way? How do you communicate in a better way now that you know what investor psychology is out there? We'll talk about the do's and don'ts of investor targeting. There are a lot of mistakes that people make, especially as they waste time in trying to come up with their target list. So we'll tell you how to do it, and then we'll talk through the ways to use different pieces of the technology to really reduce the amount of time that you spend in that. Obviously, decks. So effective frameworks for building that killer deck, and then learning to uncover your specific pitching voice and style. Not everyone is the same. Not everyone is an incredible salesperson. Some people are introverted engineers, and both can be effective. So we'll talk through that. And lastly, organization and setup of the impactful fundraise launch to achieve calendar density. How is all of this delivered? So there are different tiers for this. We did this this was never the case before. We are evolving to try to give this to the right people at the right time for the right engagement level. Everyone will have access to over 25 video lessons available on demand. There are exercises, templates, tools, email processes, all developed to help you accelerate your execution. Everyone gets that. We're giving everyone access to an amazing service called Flow Club. So on-demand study hall. What I always tell people is fundraising is a really difficult process because you're never running into this deadline. So there's an Eisenhower principle about how you schedule things. Tasks that don't need to be done immediately, but have to be done at some point. The only way you get that done ahead of time is by scheduling devoted time to do it. We're going to create study hall for it, and we have access to a really cool service to empower that for you all. And then lastly, community. So everyone is going to get access to a really great community. Like I said, it's like running a marathon together. The advanced groups are going to get much more live hands-on access to teaching. So live teaching and instruction and exercises, deck guidance and feedback, pitch practice and feedback organized by us, and founder networking curated and organized by the team over here. So why are we doing all this? Why do you even need to spend time on this? I think it's important that we talk through this because honestly, it's really about talking about finding help, not even specific to me, but I find founders will easily spend $5,000 on a deck designer, $15,000 on PR early, $250 on Equinox, but not spend money on a therapist, that kind of trade-off. But we want to talk about what it means to train and get prepared. So the way to think about any of these things is if the expected outcome that you're going after is $1 million raise, small raise, $1 million raise, and you think any of the preparation work you do will change your outcome by even 5%, that's $50,000 of impact. And you got to really think about that. And the more important thing is, wow, peace of mind. I engage in a lot of new business activities where I don't know the outcome. I don't know how to do it. And my mind is spinning because there are like 5 different things I could do. I'm not sure what the right one is. And I always try to find a mentor. I always try to find a coach in the space so they can just give me the peace of mind to tell me like what to do next. I just want a clean answer. And so I think that peace of mind in your time is priceless. So that's the value of what we're talking about. But if you wanted to do it yourself, you can also do it. So we'll do just back of the envelope DIY costing around this. Let's think about what a junior employee, someone that makes less than $100,000 a year would be to help you like research and go through the Twitter threads and find the essays on how they should execute this. Maybe you'll reach out and create connections with investors. That's going to run you minimum $8,000 a month, less than $100,000 a year. Expert consultants, I fall into this category. Candidly, my retainer is $25,000 a month when founders or when companies want to try to employ me for months at a time. In the case that I talked to you about early on, that was a $60,000 engagement. Those aren't cheap and they're also very inaccessible, which is why that's why I don't like doing it. Communities, you can buy communities too, great communities. On Deck, Launch House, those are $3,000 a year. And to get the expertise and guidance and feedback of people that have done this before and have access to that content, that's 1% of your company, 0.5% of your company. So a typical stack is going to look like maybe 50% of a junior employee, 50% of an expert consultant, a community or an advisor. Just back of an envelope, we're talking minimum $20,000 and call it 1% of your company to DIY this, not to mention your time to pull all of that together. Like, how do I find this person? How do I find this person? How do I find this community? How do I sign this up? So this is just leading up to, of course, you guys are curious about how we've priced this. So the investment in Fundraise with Confidence, the core product, is normally $4,375. That's obviously matched against what we were trying to tell you you could do on your own. But we are extending this pre-sale 10% discount for being in the workshop. We'll talk to you a little bit more about the different programs that might fit you if you're in different places. We'll get to that later. But there is something more important to tell you, which is not only is this 10% bonus for being here, but for everyone that goes to the program, we have an execution bonus. I want you to win. I don't want you to just sign up for edutainment and be like, oh, cool. And now I know what is possibly here to get done. I will give you at least $400 back if you complete 3 key tasks. I will just send you $400 back. So if you actually do your investor target list, which is not easy to do, like it takes effort, and we're going to go through the steps of doing the research. But if you create your investor target list and you have 100 names on there and you send us in, and then if you do actually do reps of your deck, if you show me what your initial deck was and you show me your delta, your end state. So I see the progress that you implemented, the things that we talked about. And if you attend 5 study hall sessions, if you do these 3 simple things, these are not arm twisty things. These are things that you need to do to fundraise well. We will send you $400 back. Okay, so that's the execution bonus. So here's some, we just want to make sure this is obviously a playbook of how we get the community excited, but we talked about the 10% discount. That ends this Friday when we go to open enrollment, when we hit our full mailing list, when we go out on social media, when we go fill up the cohort. But till then, the first 5 founders that register in the top 2 tiers, they call it Essential and Unicorn founders, will get a one-on-one pre-session strategy call with me. That's awesome. You'll be able to get the lay of the land before the course starts, figure out what you could be doing in the meantime. And the first 10 will get a pre-session deck or narrative review. So if you already have a deck and you want expert guidance around how you should be thinking about that, or if you don't have the deck yet and you want to put together a 6-slide rubber band exercise so I can help you think through that narrative, that's what the first 10 founders that register will get in the pre-sale period. And there are limited seats. This is not just lip service. I wish this business model were better because it's not infinitely scalable. We actually have to have Jonathan and me and other people help make sure that this is a great experience. The last cohort, we planned on 25 people showing up. We oversold it to 30. At the time, we had 1.3 thousand newsletter subscribers, 200,000 followers on Twitter. And we ran a similar workshop and we had 125 people show up. It was great. This time around, we are going to double the capacity to 50, and we're putting the efforts in place to get that done. But here are our numbers. We now have 5,000 newsletter subscribers, 5,000 followers on Twitter, and over 675 people registered for this workshop. At the peak point, we had 200 some people show up here on this last day. So by proxy, we think this is going to do well and there won't be unlimited seats. The last thing I'll tell you is we're going to do this on-call bonus. We literally added this a day ago because someone was like, people got really excited about hearing about this other thing we have. Here's the on-call bonus. If any 2 founders, the first 2 founders on this call register on the call, and we'll start sending through the links. We'll just do a one-on-one coffee with me at any point. Only in these 4 cities though, in LA, San Francisco, New York City, or Sao Paulo. Those are the 4 cities that I know I'm going to be in the next few months. You can join me. We can build a relationship. We can talk about fundraising, startups, life, or whatever. I think this will be really fun. So if any founders register during the call, that's the bonus here. So let me first drop a link here. I think Jonathan sent that through the chat. It's fundraisewithconfidence.com/presale. So you just click on that, you go there. You'll see the 3 different options, read through it, but you click on enroll now, it'll send you to Kajabi, a nice registration page. And if you're in one of those cities and you're trying to do this now, drop your city. There's a field that says what city you're in. Now, that's not it. I want to make sure people know that there is a guarantee. I have a 60-day, 100% money back guarantee. I don't think any experience that doesn't have this stands behind what they do. But if you take this course thoughtfully, if you actually watch the lectures, go to study hall, do the exercises, and follow the guidance that I put in here, and you come away with this, like really not 100% excited and satisfied, I will refund your money if you do it within 60 days. Just have to send me an email and tell me what happened. The guarantee is important to me because 1, I do believe in what I put together. It's just standing behind my word and my product, but also because we are building a community here. And I only want people in the community who did the work and are happy to be a part of it. I've helped founders raise over $250 million in my career across being a venture capitalist and advisor and now doing this. But I'll tell you, honestly speaking, one of the proudest moments I've had was finding out that 3 women in FWC2 that all happened to be in New York City. So it was a virtual program then too. The 3 women became close friends and hang out to this day. I get photos from them when they hang out and it warms my heart. It's really cool. And that's the sort of experience that we want to continue building. And I think the guarantee is important. So let me tell you about results because I think that's important. So we've worked with founders around the world. I'm not sure if we've worked with a founder in Africa yet, but we have worked with founders across the globe and have money raised in every continent except for maybe Africa and Antarctica. Everything on the low end from $20,000 to $30 million, products in sex tech, all the way to security tech and everything in between, consumer, e-commerce. And people have raised from pretty amazing funds. I just slapped a few together. Techstars, NFX, big billion-dollar hedge funds like Point72. We had a founder get on Shark Tank after the program. Really impressive stuff, things that we were really excited to see. And I know it can be very easy to hear what I have to say and maybe not believe it or not understand exactly what this could be. I wanted to make sure that I at least shared a couple testimonials, especially because one of our teammates put together a montage. So if you'll bear with me, I want to play this for you guys.
When we were raising our seed round about 4 months ago, it took us 15 days just to do whatever a sheet I did in like 15, 20 minutes. So this is super helpful.
I've told you how much that course was helpful for us in so many ways. The number of compliments that we get on the deck, it's pretty crazy. And people are just like, this narrative, this story, everything is so tight. And I think that was entirely because we had your guidance through that process.
Amazing. This was so incredibly helpful. Like my whole body has chills. I'm just glad that I was able to get time with you before everything explodes for you. I think that you was one of the best things that has happened. I'm just being honest because nobody could ever answer to me. The investors talked about it, but nobody knew how to explain it. And that's the point. For me, was eye-opening. And now I want to make sure that we follow your advice.
I think it's super right on. I think this is like the first outside pitch. And I think like we're all workshopping it. I think that could not be more spot on. Because like I've been involved with so many different perspectives on consultants and different people. And I think just taking a second to pause, Jason, and say, I thought that was super fucking helpful. That was great advice. So.
That was fun. I'm going to compliment our teammate Andrew for putting that together. I have another testimony I want you guys to hear, but fun news, the 2 on-call bonuses have been put out. There's one other testimonial that I think is more from someone who actually went through FWC 3 and I don't know, touched me. And so I thought it would be impactful for you guys to hear it as well.
Ganesh is actually here.
Oh, is Ganesh here? I don't want to embarrass him, but I do want to play the thing. I don't even think he knows what I'm about to play, but I'll play the testimonial.
No idea.
Ganesh, really great to see you, man. Let's play it again.
And I just have say one thing, Jason.
Yes.
Just wanted to say genuinely, from my heart, big thank you to all of you guys. Really, really program. And it was even a bit, to be honest, like for certain bits, some of the things I was like, this is a bit wishy-washy. I'm not sure about this, but I did them. And then I saw the result after doing them. That was just my ego getting in the way. Really good. But the biggest thing is that you actually gave a shit about everyone's thing. That really showed through. You gave a shit. That's really important. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Totally not planned. At last second, we were like, hey, do we have anything that we could share with people so they could just get a sense for what it feels like to end the program? And we found Ganesh's quote. And then I emailed him late last night. I was like, hey, man, I was sorry I didn't ask you this before. I don't know if you've been to the events, but I want to just play this one thing. He's like, oh, I'm going to be here. Do you want to talk to me? So let's do it. Ganesh, do you mind saying what's up?
Hey, Jason, how's it going? Yeah, I forgot I said that actually, but
Look at that. Same room.
I'm still in the same room. Yeah. As I said there, I think if I'm being perfectly honest, I was a bit on the fence before I even took the course. And then for anyone listening, just do it. I have a much clearer process in my head of what I actually need to do. And I think fundraising is a bit all over the place and it's not black and white. And it was a lot more clear after running the course, and I'm about to start fundraising soon and I know what I need to do, and that just takes off a whole lot of pressure. So anyone that's even thinking about it, just do it.
That's amazing. And Ganesh, so Brian asked what program he did. He did the Essential program. And Ganesh, you have access to that lifetime. I don't know if you knew that. So in case you want
Awesome. Even more benefits. Brilliant.
Yeah. If you want to refresh for your next fundraise, which I'm excited to hear about, would love to have you back and just hear how things are going. So
Absolutely. Will do. Thank you.
awesome. I think we're just going to Q&A, really. We don't have that much time, but we do want to get through some Q&A and hopefully people, I don't know if people have questions, but when people heard that I was going to be going through program, people started sending things in. I did tell them that I would answer some of these main ones first. So just bring up what I saw. Okay. When will the next cohort be? Because I have a lot on my plate right now. So people are curious if they should wait till the next cohort. The truth of the matter is we don't know when it's going to be. And I don't even know if I'm going to do this again. This is a very special thing that we want to squeeze in because people were so nervous about fall fundraising. And the next thing that we're like, let's at least pull something together. Ganesh's program was like 9 months ago. So we don't do this very often. If we do it again, prices will change. And I guess the answer is that we don't know. And if you think that you need to fundraise sometime in the future, I'd highly recommend you do the work to learn how to prepare and even start preparing early. You don't really help yourself by pushing this work around. So spending time to get better at it now is a great way to do things. Let's see. Can I include a co-founder? Because I need to discuss this with them and see if they're interested. So I'll take the second thing first, which is, I'll just tell you, yes, we let co-founders join. But the second part about discussing with co-founders, this is part of the program too. I talked through it, is fundraising is a lonely solo project for CEOs and founders. And I find that people that are in different parts of the business don't understand how hard it is. And I just warn you that this should be the CEO's decision, because a lot of, especially product and tech people, will think about fundraising. They'll be like, what? Isn't it just like sending a bunch of emails and talking to people about it? You want to step away from the business to go do this thing. And we talk through this in the program of the conversation that you need to have with your co-founders, because this is hard. Quick answer is yes. If you have a co-founder and you email me and you tell me who they are and whatever, we'll have them join with you, but really make this decision. Can I get a scholarship and discount? So some people have asked about that before even knowing how much it costs. Says one thing. So no, for a couple of reasons. First, it's not fair to everyone else. And actually, if you truly need the discount in order to be able to make this work, I do not want you to join. That's not the point of this. This is not the point to stretch you so that you like can't do this. If you're just trying to get a little bit of a discount here and there, like it is what it is, and we're just trying to make it fair for everyone. But everyone should know that founders join programs like this in order to answer the questions for them, to save time and save focus so that they can actually like essentially outsource part of their brain to something else and then be able to focus on actually running their business. So if you value your time, if you trust what I have to say, then I do believe it's worth many times what we're pricing this at. Let's see. Do we guarantee your money raise or do we get intros from you? I think I answered that. No and no, and bot intros are not worth it. I'm in an Asian country. Can you change the time? Stuff. We work with global founders. We've never done this in the past. Last time we had founders join calls at 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. and I didn't twist their arm. I was like, I understand it'll be hard, but they joined us. We're not going to change the time, but if 10 founders join either the Essential or Unicorn programs, we will open up a second lecture time to make sure that people in different time zones can actually do it at that time. That's out there for everyone. We'll see if we get that time. Ashira asked when's the time. It's going to be 10 a.m. Pacific on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Oh, here two more. Let's see. I want to raise money. I want to start raising much sooner. Can I get the content faster? The program is designed to make sure that you build on stuff and don't rush ahead and you don't skip steps. I really don't recommend going any faster. It's a 5-week program. But if you absolutely still want to join and just absolutely want the content, email me separately and we can figure out whether or not it makes sense to even have you join and maybe give you the content faster, but I don't recommend it. And then if you guys seen it in the unicorn package, which is just meant to be a bear hug, it's a much more one-on-one bear hug, there is a dinner with me. And yes, there will be a dinner. It's geography, it's an invite. So it's geography specific, again, the main cities. So some people might not be able to join those, but yes, there will be a dinner. Let me see if there are other questions. Where am I based, Jason? All over the world, actually, but a lot of my time is spent in LA. It is 5 weeks long, Shira. The day that it starts, September 12th. Open enrollment starts this Friday and will last for about a week. Let's see, what's the schedule? It is Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays is a lecture day. Thursdays is office hours. So everyone will have access to office hours. And then we'll have assignments that need to be turned in over the weekend and we'll continue to repeat. And then we'll have access to open study hall. So you can assign study hall to yourself so that it's like, hey, if the task at hand is mapping my existing network, let's essentially assign a study hall designed for that on your calendar. We'll leverage Flow Club for that. So you just get it done and it's not part of your decision-making process of working on my company here, working on marketing here. When do I set aside time for fundraising? We'll have let's see, study hall for that. Okay. So we're coming up on the hour. Let me screen share one last thing. Okay. So we're just signing off here. I did want to make sure that people had the link. I don't know. Again, just go to the link. I think we have, let's see, 3 or 4 sales already. Julio, thank you for joining us too. Julio just signed up and joined. It looks like it's already, a lot of these names I know because I've followed their content and followed their company as they've engaged my content. It looks like it's already going to be a really fun cohort. And like I said, we're going to open up enrollment to the masses on Friday. So all these pre-sale benefits go away then. And we're going to push to sell this out with the best founders as fast as possible. So I highly encourage you, if you're thinking about this, to do this sooner rather than later. And I'll just say, look, I'm so happy that some of you have spent time just thinking and hearing about what this program is about, because maybe it'll give you inspiration on how to do this yourself too. But my excitement lies with just this ability to say, how can I take off all the worry out of someone's mind of, how do I do this? What am I supposed to do? How do I get it done in a certain amount of time? Because I know that anxiety, not in fundraising, because I know there's things like the back of my head, but different tasks and different projects that I'm running where I just don't know how to do it. And I just wish I had someone that could snap their fingers and take that off my plate. That's what I want to deliver to you. I'm trying to take that off your plate so you can just focus on the thing that is important to you, to get to your goals, get to your dreams. That's what I'm here for.